You know, there's a verb you use hundreds, maybe thousands of times a day, and you probably never give it a second thought. But what if I told you it's the strangest, most cobbled together word in the entire English language? Yeah, we're talking about the verb to be.
I mean, it's not just common. To be is the most frequently used verb we have. It is the absolute backbone of our language. It's how we talk about existence, how we link ideas. It does a ton of heavy lifting in pretty much every single sentence. But here's the crazy part. Even though it's so essential, some linguists have called it a badly mixed up verb. A badly mixed up verb? What does that even mean? How can the one word we rely on the most be so broken? So that's the big question we're going to dig into. Why is it so mixed up? And to really get the why, we first have to appreciate just how weird this verb actually is when you stop and look at it.
Just look at this comparison. It says it all. You take a normal verb like walk. Its different forms, walk, walks, walked, they all clearly come from the same root word, right? But then you look at to be. You've got am, is, are, was, were. None of them look anything like each other. It's kind of a linguistic mess.
So how in the world did this happen? Well, believe it or not, there's a name for this. It's a specific linguistic thing that unlocks the whole mystery. The answer is a fascinating concept called sublimation.
Supplementation is basically when a word's different forms are supplied by other words that are, well, historically, they're not related at all. One source put it perfectly. It creates a Frankensteinian verb, stitched together from the parts of other dead words. And that is exactly what to be is.
Okay, so if it's stitched together, where did all these spare parts come from? Well, our modern verb wasn't really born, it was assembled. It's a mashup of three completely different verbs from Proto-Indo-European, a super ancient language that's the ancestor of English. Let's meet the family. First up, we've got the root is. This one's the oldest piece of the puzzle, and it just meant to exist. That's it. And from this ancient root, we get our modern present tense forms, am and is.
All right, next there was a totally separate root, bhu, which had a different meaning, more like to become or to grow. And this verb got pulled in to become the base form, the infinitive of our modern verb. It's where we get be, being, and been.
And the third and final ancestor was the root wes. This one originally meant something like to remain or to stay. Over thousands of years, this verb basically got absorbed to give English its past tense forms, was and were.
So you've got these three totally separate roots from three different ancient verbs. How on earth did they get stitched together into one? Well, it wasn't a quick process. You got to think of it like a massive corporate merger that took thousands of years to finalize. This timeline really shows that journey perfectly. If you go way back to Old English, you can still see the separate ancestors living as distinct verbs like be on and wesen. Then you hit Middle English, and things get chaotic, just a messy free-for-all between different dialects. It actually wasn't until around the mid-1600s that the forms finally settled down into the weird, wonderful verb we use today. And this all brings us to this fantastic paradox. Why would our most important, most used verb also be our most irregular one? You'd think that with constant use, it would get simpler and more streamlined, right?
Well, the answer is just incredible. Linguists now believe it's so irregular because it's used so often. Turns out, words we use all the time are actually more resistant to being standardized. They hold on to their old, weird quirks. And as people used it constantly for millennia, it just absorbed the meanings and forms of its competitors, becoming this powerful patchwork superverb. So really, if you think about to be as a family, it's a blended one. You've got the is branch, which gives us am and is, then there's the bu branch with be and been, and finally the wes branch, providing was and were. Three different family trees all living together under one roof.
So in the end, the verb to be isn't broken or mixed up at all. It's a living fossil. Every single time you say I am or they were, you are literally speaking history. You're using words that have traveled for thousands of years from totally different sources just to land together in your sentence. It's amazing.
And that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, if our most common verb is hiding this much incredible history right there in plain sight, what other linguistic fossils are we using every single day without even realizing it?